I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but recent events have left me furious and questioning whether I'm overreacting. Some background. I grew up in a middle-class family with my parents and younger brother, 25M. My parents always had an obvious preference for my brother. He got the bigger bedroom, newer clothes, and was never expected to work part-time jobs like I was. I try not to let it bother me too much, figuring that's just how some parents are. When I turned 18, my parents sat me down for what they called an important conversation. They explained that with my brother entering his final year of high school, they wanted to convert my bedroom into a study space for him to prepare for college applications. They said I was an adult now and needed to find my own place, effectively giving me 3 weeks to move out. I was shocked, but had been saving money from my part-time jobs, so I found a tiny studio apartment I could barely afford. For the next several years, I worked multiple jobs while putting myself through community college and then a state university. I had student loans, but I graduated with a degree in finance. Meanwhile, my brother went to an expensive private university, fully funded by my parents. He majored in business, but spent most of his time partying and barely graduated. Fast forward to now. I've worked incredibly hard, saved aggressively, lived frugally, and through some smart investments and a promotion to financial analyst at my company, I managed to buy a modest 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood 2 years ago. I'm extremely proud of what I've accomplished completely on my own. My brother, on the other hand, has bounced between jobs, still lives with my parents, and has significant credit card debt from his lifestyle. He recently got engaged to his girlfriend of 6 months who's pregnant, and they've been pressuring my parents to help them find a place to live. Last week, my parents invited me to dinner. I thought maybe they were finally proud of me or wanted to repair our strained relationship. Instead, they dropped a bombshell that left me speechless. They explained that my brother needs a fresh start with his new family and suggested that I should do the right thing by selling my house to them at a significantly below market price, or, better yet, simply sign it over and move back into an apartment since you're just one person and don't need all that space. When I laughed, thinking it was a joke, my mother started crying about how families should support each other, and my father accused me of being selfish. They brought up how much they'd sacrificed for me, which was practically nothing, and said my brother's needs were greater because he's starting a family. I was so stunned that I just got up and left without saying anything. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with texts from my parents, brother, and now even his fiancée, calling me selfish and heartless for not helping family in need. The day after that disastrous dinner, my brother showed up at my doorstep unannounced. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. He waltzed in like he owned the place, ironic, considering the situation, and immediately started commenting on my fancy house and how lucky I was. Then he got to the point. He explained that he and his fiancée had already started planning which rooms would be the nursery and home office. They'd even looked up local schools and daycares in MY neighborhood. When I asked how long they'd been planning this, he casually mentioned that our parents had suggested it months ago when he announced the pregnancy. "We've already told everyone we're moving here," he said, as if that settled everything. "Mom and Dad said you'd be reasonable once you understood the situation." I remained calm and asked exactly what understanding the situation meant. He had the audacity to say, "Look, you're single with no kids. You don't need this much space. I'm starting a family. This house is perfect for us, and you can easily find an apartment. Plus, we can't afford market rate right now. Dad suggested you could just transfer ownership to me, and they'd count it as part of your inheritance." When I flatly refused, his friendly demeanor vanished. He accused me of always being jealous of him and said I was trying to sabotage his happiness. According to him, I was showing off by buying a house just to make him look bad. The conversation ended with him storming out, saying I'd regret not helping family when I needed them someday. The next day, my parents emailed me a crude proposal they drafted. They wanted me to sign over my house to them, not even my brother directly, and in exchange, they would allow me to stay in one of the bedrooms rent-free for up to 6 months while I found a new place. They framed it as a generous offer that would heal our family divisions. I didn't respond, which apparently was the wrong move. My extended family started calling and texting. My aunt said I should be ashamed of myself for not helping my brother just this once. My cousin suggested I was being vindictive because of childhood jealousy. They all conveniently ignored the fact that I was kicked out at 18 while my brother got to live at home through college and beyond. Yesterday, my brother's fiancée showed up with her mother. They brought paint swatches and started discussing wall colors for the living room while standing on my front porch. When I refused to let them in, the fiancée burst into tears, cradling her barely showing pregnancy bump, and her mother called me a heartless witch who would deny shelter to an unborn child. Later that evening, my father called and said they were very disappointed in my attitude. He suggested that if I wanted to act like an adult, I should come to their house this weekend to discuss the logistics of the transition. When I said there would be no transition because I wasn't giving up my house, he said ominously, "We'll see about that." I've since learned from a sympathetic family friend that my parents have been telling everyone that I promised the house to my brother when he started a family, and now I'm going back on my word. They're painting me as the villain in a narrative they've completely fabricated. This morning, I woke up to an email from a real estate attorney. Apparently, my parents had consulted him about reclaiming a family property. They'd invented some story about how they had helped me buy the house with the understanding it would be family property. The lawyer was professional but clearly skeptical, asking for documentation of their financial contribution to the purchase. I immediately called my own attorney and explained the situation. She confirmed what I already knew. The house is solely in my name, purchased entirely with my money, and my family has zero legal claim to it. She advised me to send a formal cease and desist letter to my parents and brother, which she drafted for me. After sending the letter, I decided to finally address the family rumors. I created a detailed Facebook post explaining exactly how I was kicked out at 18, put myself through school without help, and purchased my home through years of hard work and sacrifice. I included screenshots of my mortgage approval showing I was the sole applicant and a screenshot of the recent proposal from my parents. I ended by stating clearly that I never promised my house to anyone and had no intention of giving it away. The post spread like wildfire through my extended family. The reactions were split. Some family members who'd been fed lies by my parents were shocked and apologized to me. Others doubled down, saying that regardless of how I got the house, I should still give it up because family comes first and my brother needs it more. My brother called, absolutely livid. He screamed that I had humiliated him and his fiancée and threatened to sue me for emotional damages. When I reminded him that he has no case and no money for legal fees, he hung up. Later in the day, my mother sent a long, guilt-trippy text about how I had always been difficult and never understood family loyalty. She said they had given me everything growing up, and this was how I repaid them. The selective memory and gaslighting were astounding. This afternoon, I installed security cameras around my property after a neighbor called to say they'd seen my brother and his fiancée taking photos of my house and peering in windows when I wasn't home. I've also changed all my locks, just in case. The most surprising development came from my brother's fiancée's parents. Her father called me, apologizing for their involvement. He explained that they'd been told I had promised the house to my brother as a wedding gift, and they had no idea about the true situation. He seemed genuinely embarrassed and assured me they would no longer be part of this drama. I'm still processing all of this, but I'm standing firm. This house represents every extra shift I worked, every vacation I didn't take, every small luxury I denied myself to save money. I won't give it up because of family guilt or manipulation.